this room, and then after that, go find the past year questions. So today, for the lecture time, we will do the past year questions. Um, it is the past year questions was online, so it is 3 hours. But bear in mind that your coming exam is face to face. So the hour for the exam, the period is only 2 hours. So um, I want you to practice to answer fast and then use your handwriting to answer, because later you will answer using handwriting, right? So you need to practice answer it using handwriting, and then try to answer questions 1 until 2 within 1 hour. Okay, Kelvin is here. Okay, Noel?
Okay.
Okay. So for Kelvin, I will tell you. You want to open your laptop also, okay? But if you don't want to open, not open, so okay lah. Uh, okay, so for today, because we already finished our class kan, our lecture. So for today, we answer past year questions. I will share the document. Yeah. Here already, here if you can see. But you didn't bring any paper lah. Yeah. But if you don't have paper, then do you have laptop? You didn't bring your laptop. Ah, you got it. Yeah. Okay. So Kelvin, at the first hour, you answer questions one and questions two first, huh? After that, the next hour we will discuss questions one and questions two. Did your father send you here just now? Your father send you here? Your father send you here? Yeah. Oh, your mom. Pardon? For which questions? Anima? For this one. Okay, wait ah. For this one, right? If you choose any entity, then it get already 2 marks. And then when you assign the object to that entity, the correct object to that entity, it already get 4 marks. And then if you write a justifications about why you use that entity, it already can get you 4 marks. Yeah, because here it says that uh, because to store the daily entry, right? So, pardon? Yeah. Wait, we check the questions first. Because in your questions there are 2 objects, which is one entry. Yang the second object is picture or image. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, you need to choose lah because there are 2 objects here, right? Entry and image. Then you can choose what type of entity that is suitable for entry and for image. Meaning you then you only can get, for example, um, if you only choose one object which is entry, and then you select appropriate entity to that entry, then you can get 2 marks lah. Yeah. So meaning both object need to be assigned to the appropriate entity. Yeah. Yeah. I think I need to open the windows. Because maybe it will reduce the echo. Because your voice, I think, echoing. Right? Do a box stress. Have you ever have the practical about do box stress previously? Remember? Because it is not a code, it is a diagram. The grammar. Have you ever, because because I'm the one who followed the fight, right? So, yeah, you need to draw up. But I will check lah. In which chapter that you create the box stress. So questions B, no need code, but you just need to do the box stress. Whenever it loops the array. It is in your chapter 6, recursion. Yeah, box stress. You are still in questions 1B. So, I mean, yeah, you need to do the box lah. You need to draw that box. If you see the questions, right? So the questions here, the array is 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 numbers here inside the array. 10, -1, 25, and 0. Meaning you need to have at least, not at least, you need to have 4 box. Yeah, 4 box. Because each box will get you marks. Each box will get you 3 marks. So 3 times 4, then you get 12. And then if you get the floor of the trash box correct, you get 3 marks. The floor is the error lah. Questions won't be quite weird. No. It is asking the box stress that you have learned in chapter 6 lah. No. So later we discuss lah what is the weird part of 1B. So we will discuss the questions 1 and questions 2 at 10 minutes. Pardon? Question what? Questions 1B, you don't understand? Oh, you don't understand the code lah, the written one, right? Okay. Okay, so later I will explain lah. Okay, so 10 a.m. already. Okay, so you can answer up until what question, Kelvin? 1A and only 1A lah, and then 1B you confuse lah. Okay, so do you haven't apa lah? You haven't touched lah, number 2. Pardon? Ah, okay, so Noel up until 2C. Up until 2. Okay. So we discussed whatever you have answer first. So since Kelvin can answer up until 1A, then can you please share your answer for 1A? Okay, so what are the entity that you choose for the entry? Stack. Okay, why? Pardon? Oh, so you want the latest entry to be at the first lah. Kan because that is the reason why you choose stack lah. Okay, so for the image, what entity that you choose? Please. Oh, okay. Okay, so good. That answer also can give you 10 marks because you already can know which entity suitable for what type of object. Because for example, for now, just now you said that you choose stack because you want because the letters will be stacked on the top, right? And then you want the newest because it is a diary kan? It is your diary. So usually maybe people wants to know what is the latest that what you did yesterday, not from the 10 years ago. So you choose stack because you want to see the newest entry first. So yes, that is also a good you know how to use stack, and then you know why it is suitable for your object, then you can get full mark um, for entry object already. And then for the images, you said you want to use list because it can store more than one image, right? Okay, so yes, it is also can be accepted. So for this, you can get 10 marks already because suitable entity, which is stack and list, you already get 2 marks. And then what object to be stored to that entity? So you said that entry is to using stack, and then picture using list. So you can get 4 marks already. And then justification on why you choose that entity for that object. Because you said just now, because you want the newest entry for the stack, and then you want the image can be stored more than one image, so that's why you use list. Okay, so that is 4 marks already because justification for stack and queue 4 marks. Um, you choose what object to stack and then your image for your list 4 marks. So 10 marks. Ah, okay. So how about Noel? What did you choose? What entity that you choose for that two objects?
Or I presenting.
Ah, okay.
Um, okay, so for the end display the entries in the main page, I use a queue.
Mm-hmm.
So for every latest entry, it will be inserted into the queue, whereas the oldest one will be removed from the queue. So the queue only contains 10 entries only. Yeah. So
Mm. So you choose
next
queue because you can limit the entry lah.
to 10, yeah.
Okay.
So next is entry details. So for the entry details, I use list.
Okay.
So inside the list, the object stored is the entry object,
Mm-hmm.
which stores the information such as mood, date, text, and images.
Mm-hmm.
So for
Okay.
these three, mood, date, text, they are compulsory, whereas the image are optional.
Okay, okay.
And lastly, uh, to store the image in the entry, I use a list. So if the user adds an image, it will be added into the end of the list. Other than that, if the user will decide to remove, they can directly remove the image at any location, unlike
Okay.
unlike the stack, which we need to remove the top layer one by one first in order to remove that specific image.
Okay, so this one also can get 10 marks because um, you have specified why you didn't want to use a stack for the image, and then you also um, decided to use list for image, right? And then you already give the justifications. Okay, so after that, for the entry, you also use list because inside the list entry is object where stores and move. So the mood, date, and text details are compulsory, whereas image are optional for every entry. Um, and then your first entity is Q. So Q is for entry. So list for entry details. Image is list again. Okay, so suitable.
Is it
So
acceptable?
for
I use two
um,
lists.
is it acceptable even though you use the same entity for different, but you assign it for different object, right? But I think
Yeah.
for your question, for your paragraph number 2, you are lack why you choose list for this object, mood, that
Oh,
text. Yeah.
mm,
Why do you use list for this object? What is the advantage of list over the other entity?
I think this one same as the image. Like if they want to remove an entry, they can directly remove the entry without uh, removing the top layer one by one.
Oh, okay. So yes, it is also acceptable, but you need to explain it here lah, because
Oh,
the same lah. I mean, you may write or summarize for both. For example, you summarize for the entry details and for the images. I use list because if we need to remove any data, it needs to be you can remove it at any location. So if compared with the stack, you need to remove the top first. Okay, so you do some summary like that lah.
okay, okay.
Okay, so if you are, so like I said previously, you get marks, 4 marks, because here if you can identify the correct object, like the entry and then the image previously, and then Noel, you identify another object which is entry details, then you also can for these questions, if you can identify at most 2 objects, and then you choose the appropriate ADT type to it, you can already can get 10 marks. So how you can get that 10 marks? Like I said previously lah. Um, First, if you choose suitable ADT, then you can get 2 marks already, because and if you can identify 2 objects in that scenario, and then you can get 2 marks already. Okay, so first suitable additive, 2 marks, and then you choose what object to be stored to that additive. Is it is appropriate? Okay, so it is relevant lah why you choose that object to be stored using that additive. And then justifications, why you choose that additive for that object. So two 2 marks for each justification. So let's say you have 2 ADT, then justification for ADT 1 and justification for ADT 2. And then another 4 marks is appropriate object to that ADT, because you have 2 ADT, then you have 4 marks. One ADT, one object, and it is appropriate and relevant, 2 marks. Okay, so all are 10. Okay, so for questions 1B, um, Kelvin said he is confused. Noel, how about you?
Oh,
What
the
did
box
you,
tracer.
yeah, the box stress.
So I share my screen.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the box trace. So first, the n is 4,
Mm-hmm.
but based on the question, it's it stop when the n is equal to 1, right?
Mm.
So we continue at this, but call another same method. So this time n equal 3, and continue n equal 2, and finally here n equals to 1. So here we just return the what the num array I,
Mm.
which is 10. So return 10, and then next go to the previous stack. So 10 and -1, the smallest is -1. So yeah, this returns -1. So next is okay, compare the 3 numbers. So same, which is the smallest is -1, and finally and the smallest is also -1. So yeah, but What I find weird, this one, the I plus one.
Oh, so you find weird. Why need I minus 1?
Yeah, okay. Because or he already stated n minus one, right?
Mm.
So if the array contains only two objects, but the I is three, so yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Okay, so let's see the suggested answer first. So if you see the box stress, let me share my screen. The example of box stress in our chapter 6 is a little bit different from Noel, but I understand Noel, you pictures whatever that is happening or the number inside that list lah, that array.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is different because whatever that we have learned in our chapter 6, it is just something like this lah. Okay, so in our suggested answer also, it is looking like this. It only give you what it will return. Okay, so the suggested answer is okay. So can you both see this? So
Can
it only focus on get minimum functions, which is um, which is what will be written by find minimum functions lah. Okay, so it focus on get minimum functions, and then Kelvin previously um, said that he is confused about this line of code. Can you all see my screen here? Oh, because I'm using two PC, right? So um, so it focus on it and okay, here lah. So that statement is actually Kelvin the one that you don't understand previously. Okay, so it is actually if else statement. Yeah, if it is if else. So if x equal to the statement, so here is the things the items that will be written if it is true, and then after this double double apa ni we call double titik bertindih lah, this titik bertindih, it is the things that you need to return if the condition here or the statement here is false. So the example here, for example, you want to find the greatest among these two numbers. You have A equal to 3, B equal to 5. So if you are using if else, you might doing something like this. Okay, so if A is less than B, then of course you want to return B lah, because B will be the largest. And then else, then you return A lah. So what you will do this in the statement of using this, what we call this is what we call as ternary, T-E-R-N-A-R-Y, T-E-R-N-A-R-Y, ternary. If I'm not mistaken, this is the name of ternary. I mean the name of this question mark is actually ternary. So when we are using ternary, then you can just write it like this. So you return A if you have this condition lah. In the above, we have condition A less than B. But here the condition is A greater than B. So if it is true, then you return A, and if it is false, you return B. So in the questions, we focus on this, meaning if this statement still, if this statement is fulfilled, if true, then you need to return the number. So here is n is the size of that array. N is the size of the array. So if n is only 1, the size of array is only 1, then it will, if this true, then it will just return the value of that array alone lah, meaning it is the minimum lah, because it doesn't have anything to compare with. So it will return the only array inside, the only value inside that array, because it is the minimum, because the only one number, because the size is 1 kan, the size of your array is 1, then you don't have any number to compare with, then you just return, meaning it is the minimum lah, the minimum number. But if the size of array is not 1, if it is more than 1, then we do this. So in your get minimum, this is the box stress. So let's say you receive the array, and then I is the index that you, the first index that you want to compare, the first value in that array. Okay, so after that, 4 is the size of your array. So here, when you return math, because the one that is passed to the get minimum is the array is start with 10, and then this is the first I, which is 0. First I is 0. So I is 0 here. So that's why it is 10 here, because it is the first value in the first index, which is 0. And then you return get minimum. So get minimum here, you return that value in the position of I, and then you compare with the value from get minimum here. So get minimum array, and then get minimum so get minimum num array 1 and 3. 1 and 3 is I plus 1. I plus 1 is 1, because 0 plus 1 is 1. And then n minus 1, meaning 4 minus 1, which is 3. So when you get this function is actually getting the minimum number between two number that it compare. So now it compare 10 with the value that is given by this. So it will, for this it will return negative 1, because negative 1 is what is obtained by this get minimum. Okay, so this get minimum function will return you negative 1. So that's why it return here negative 1. And then after that, we loop again. Okay, so here, Noel, you said it is weird why I plus 1 because it is getting the next value in the array.
Oh,
Understand?
okay.
Because here, it will getting the next value in the array.
Oh, oh. Even though the n is smaller than the index,
Pardon?
like can see the what kind the third box.
The third box. Okay,
Yeah,
third
can
box is here.
we see? Yeah, the I is 3 and the n is 1. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because because if we still get minimum I plus 1 and then n minus 1. I plus 1 because here I is already 2 and then plus 1 it meaning it you will get the next value from this num array is the array that is given here which is 25 lah. So this is your num array and then you are getting the next value meaning in the third position which and then your n will be reduced to 1 meaning it the value of your the size of your array you kasih reduce lah because you already compare it uh, 3 times and then we see
Oh, okay. I get it already.
here negative meaning it gets the position number 3 is this one 0 1 2 3 meaning 0. Position number 3 is 0. And then after that, we reduce the n to 1. So that, because meaning our loop will end lah because it is n already equal to 1, meaning it is the end of that array already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because here the condition here if n equal to 1, okay, so it will stop here, will be stopped operating if n equal to 1 already, and it will return the position in uh, the array, the value of the array um, that is last given here lah, which is I here is 3. So that's why we return 0. So if I is 3, then the value is 0 based on this. If I is 3, the value is 0. If I is 2, the value is 25. So these functions is you are getting the minimum value between two numbers, and then this get minimum, it will compare it will also compare it is getting the next value in the array and then compare it with the current. So we assume that the value in here is the current value that you want to compare. So this is the current value, this is to get the value of the next in the array and then return the minimum. Can understand why this I is +1?
Yeah, to what to iterate the number in the array, right?
Yeah. So the number here, the -1 is to reduce the type the to iterate the loop lah. Okay, the loop which is for now. So here, the one here which is I plus 1 is to iterate the value inside that array.
Oh, so the diagram, which one? Is it
The
the
diagram is this one.
if I use my one, is it acceptable?
It can be accepted, I think. Yours one can be accepted. But we need to check either your value. Can you please share it again? I think if I am the marker, I will accept it because you actually picturing what is in the concept, what is inside here. For this, because for now I only have seen one passive questions. I haven't seen another any other passive questions. So far I still don't know actually. Sorry, yeah, because this is my
Oh,
first time teaching this course, so I don't know if there are any other answer. But suggested answer is this one lah. But if I am the marker, I think I will accept your answer here because it is picturing the process.
oh, maybe I better use the suggested answer.
Yeah. So my suggestions is better you play safe lah. Play safe by doing this using the one that is suggested in our chapter 6. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. And then we proceed to questions number 2. Number 2 is this one is more to theory. And then it asks you your understanding about why we use why we need to hide some of the implementation. So that means it asks you the significance of abstraction. Yeah, it asks you about why is the significance of the abstractions lah. So how about Kelvin? Did you manage to answer this? You don't understand. How about Noel?
Uh, yeah, I done it.
Yeah, okay. Can you please share?
Oh,
Oh, maybe I need to unshare my screen lah.
um, so the reason is so that other file can use this ADT interface and modify the each individual method in their respective files, such as array list and linked list. So it's enable reusability and maintainability of the code. What else? If the new data type uses this ADT interface, they can reuse the same method name and implement it according to the data type.
Yeah, so this is actually already explaining the abstraction and reusability. Why we use abstraction? Because we want to reuse that interface. Um, so like what you answer lah, Noel. So, wait, so why do we not use I mean, here it asks, furthermore, a generic type usually represented with a single uppercase letter such as T. So it is used to replace specific class type. Okay, so elaborate why implementation and usage details are left out in the entity specification. So that is already answered by Noel. Because it is to for the reusability and it can be modified. Okay, so you may include example in your answer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I think for your answer, it is already can get, let's see, if you see, okay, this one I forgot to show how the marks is obtained from your box stress. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 boxes. So 3 marks for the 4 boxes. So you can get 12 marks already. And then if the flow of here, what it written, and then the error, if it is all correct, then you can get 3. Maybe if you wrong here, maybe you have written wrong value here, maybe it will be deducted. For example, 0.5 marks. Okay, so it is something. So it is important for you to determine how many boxes are there. Okay, so here if you are failed to determine the box, then you can lose your mark lah. 3 marks for per box. Okay, so understand how to get marks for this box stress.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, so for the questions number 2, for this one, this is the example of suggested answer lah, but yours, Noel, is already can be accepted. So an editing specification is the document that is being referred to create a reusable editing. Okay, so the keyword here is reusable. So if implementation specific details are indicated in the name, then this editing cannot be reused to be implemented in other ways. Okay, so for example, if you have a list entity, then it is having a title array list in the entity specification, then this entity specification cannot be used to create a linked list in entity letter. Okay, so furthermore, if the object stored is not generic but specific, for example, a customer object or staff object, again, this entity cannot be reused in another context. So I think you, Noel answer, you are lack of explanation why generic type is used. Represented by this T lah, it didn't use the specific. Why we need to use generic type? I guess Tabitha, let me read again. So I think you are missing the generic type. Why the explanation why generic type is used, which is T, not the specific type. So you maybe lack two. So able to explain the concept of reusability or abstraction. Okay, so you already can explain the concept of reusability. We use abstractions because we want to reuse whatever method inside that interface. Okay, so that is abstractions is needed. And then able to explain why implementation details should be left out in the entity. Okay, so and then entity specification and why generic type is used. Okay, so I think you only left this answer, this mark, why generic type is used. You didn't mention, you didn't explain about that. So maybe your answer, I can deduct 1 mark from this 3. So you can get 4 marks from your answer.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we proceed to questions number. Okay, Kelvin. Okay, you can understand why we need to use abstraction. Okay, so that's why the abstraction is where the concept of abstraction is where you have an interface, and then that interface has a blank method, and then that blank method can be inherited by any class, and then in that class you can use the same name of that method but with your own implementation details. You can operate, you just have the same method and it will return the same data type or apalah. But how you implement, how you process each of the return value is depending on you. Okay, so abstraction is we want to hide the details. We just want to give the person the name of that method, but we don't want to show them the method's details. So that's why we use the implementation. And then we want to also use the reusability, where we can reuse each of the method inside the interface and then make our own implementation out from it. Okay, so questions number 2B. Okay, so this one, it is asking about entity specifications. Okay, so this example is already an entity, not N lah, two entity specification for two methods inside QADT. So you need to write an entity specification for requeue method. So I have checked from your chapter 5, if 5 lah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it is in chapter 5. There are no example of requeue. You only the example from the sample code also only queue and only NQ and DQ, if I'm not mistaken, from your example of chapter 5 sample code. But let's see what Noel have done. Kelvin, you didn't. Okay. Okay, so Noel, you answer. But you know what is editing specifications lah? So the editing specification is something like this. Okay. So here, it is similar with the example in here, but you need to develop one lah for requeue. Okay, so wait. Okay, requeue description. Remove an item from the front of the queue and reinsert it into the back of the queue. Yes. And then the front item is moved back to the back of the queue. Yes, it is post conditions. And then return true if the process is successful, return false if the queue is empty. So from your chapter 4. Entity specification is in chapter 4. Okay. So I think you left one item lah, Noel, which is the precondition.
Oh.
Yeah. Because if you see in your chapter 4, it says that you all need to refer to appendix 4.1. Yeah, precondition. I'm not sure if Miss Paula shared with you previously about this appendix 4.1, because I saw in the slide it asks you to refer to appendix 4.1. So the appendix 4.1 is actually this one. So appendix 4.1 is the example of all additive specification. Did Miss Paula share this to you?
I think no.
No? Oh, so later I will share it with you both lah. So actually, pardon? Will they give this for exam? The what? The appendix? Of course lah, they will not give this to you during the exam, but they will give you something like this lah. In the questions already, the the example of additive specification like this. So maybe you can get idea lah what is the additive specification from looking at the sample they give here. So you only need to add additive specifications for REQ. But let me check in your, pardon? Oh, the tradition, pardon? Oh, yeah, memang. I already checked lah. In your lecture note, there are no REQ. Even and then in your practical also, there are no REQ. So you just need to think it logically how to do that. Actually, yeah. But I'm not sure if in the slide there's a precondition. Let me check. Precondition, additive specifications. Did it give you the preconditions? Oh, only 6 marks ka? But if you didn't answer that, nah, you can lose a lot of marks also lah. Precondition, where is the preconditions here? Oh. Oh. Possible solution. Here. I'm not sure if it is already explained by Miss Paula lah. But in order to do ADT, you can have the precondition also. And then in the precondition, you need to assume what are the conditions that must be met before the method can be done, can be implemented. So, let me check. Pardon? Yes. Array not empty. And then it must be more than 2 because you want to requeue. It must be more than, it must be more than 1 because you want to requeue kan? So it must be from the front, you need to go to the back. So at most, at least 2 value. So it must be more than 1. Or maybe you can say that at least 2 and above. So, where is si Noel punya answer? Here tak? Okay. So your description is correct. Your post condition also correct. Your written true if the process is successful. Written false if the queue is empty. Yes, correct. But if you want to see the suggested answer, it is more or less similar with whatever Noel answer, but without with precondition and without the written. Sorry, Q. So here, your description you can get directly from the questions. If you see here the descriptions, yeah. So it is directly from the questions here. method which allow an item to be removed from the front of the queue and added it back to the queue. Okay, so if you see here, removes the entry from the front of the queue and add it to the back of the queue. So that is the descriptions. You already can get 1 mark. Okay, so after that, even if you put the correct method header, which is your requeue here, also can get 1 mark already. Okay, and then your precondition is 2 marks. So ngam lah, like Kelvin said just now, the queue is not empty and has more than 1 entry. So has more than 1 entry is my answer lah just now. But the queue must not empty to do the requeue method. Okay, so post condition is okay, so it is what we can see after the process of requeue is done to that array. So what is the post condition is the entry at the front of the queue has been moved back to the back of that queue. So it is similar with whatever Noel answer lah just now, which is the front item is moved back to the back of the queue. Okay, so it is correct already.
Okay.
Okay, so if you see here, precondition 2, postcondition is 2. So if I'm not sure if the return can get marks or not, but maybe because it is based on the CC, but I think can get marks lah for me if I am the marker. Maybe if you can, maybe it also can get 2 marks for the return because it didn't specify what type or what item that it wants, kan? It only wants you to give the editor specifications. But I think for the safest way letter, you put all description, precondition, postcondition, return. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, safest way. Okay, so we proceed to questions number 2C. Okay, so here, given the following part, okay, so here you need to implement whatever that you have mentioned in your ADT specification previously. Okay, so provide the implementation of requeue method. So can I see your answer, Noel? Okay, so private boolean requeue. Because first not equal to first not next is equal to null, last not next equal to first not the data. Yeah, I think you're missing the return because you didn't return any, but you said that you will return boolean lah. How do you get the true, the value of that true?
If this one is successful. Wait. Oh yeah. If empty, return false. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, already, sorry. It is already 11:04 a.m. Do you have class after this?
12, yeah.
12. Okay, so we finish this only lah. So
Okay.
we finish these questions only. So for your ADT, because you in your ADT specification previously you have written, but you don't have preconditions. So that's why you need to actually at least you need to, because in your ADT specification there's a written, then don't forget to put written also lah in your code. But the suggested answer, there's no written because it has the preconditions. So the suggested answer is this one. Okay, so this is the precondition.
Oh,
Okay, so
now.
okay, so if we create one instance that hold the temporary value. So that temporary value is the first node that you want to move to the back. And then your temporary node is equal to the first node because you want to move it to the back. And then your first node, you get the next value inside that node to be your first node. And then your last node dot next will be your temporary node because last node dot next is the last value inside that node. So you assign it to the temporary node, which is the first node previously. And then your last node is equal to temporary node 2. And then last node dot next equal to null. So this is the value, this is how the requeue done lah. Yeah. So remember, whatever you put in your ADT specifications, you must implement it in the implementation. So if previously Noel said there must be a written, then there must be a written in the implementation too lah. So if you said because if the written true or false, then you need to return the boolean lah, like what Noel did just now. But you just need to find out how to return the boolean lah, the true or false, how to satisfy your return condition.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Noel?
Okay.
Okay, so like I said previously, the safest way is to have that 4 criteria, which is description, precondition, postcondition, and written. Okay, so this is how you can get mark. Okay, so in our practical letter, we will continue these past year questions after we finish with your practical that we didn't finish last week. The hash code for the double hashing. Okay, so I will see you both on 2:30 p.m. today.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.